Good afternoon. We are meeting today on a live session. Actually, last week it was a recorded session. I think you attended the session, uh, but we tried to make it, interactive as much as possible. But it was basically a recorded session. Now today, we need to do a couple of things. I asked you to do a couple of things last week, even at the recorded session, and let's try to look at those things what we have discussed that day. Now let me go to these slides which I want to give you some guidance in relation to financial and economic news. So before we come to the interest rate discussion, let's start with this slide set, and after that let's look at the homework, basically what I asked you to do, and then we will come back to our interest rate session. So that's the plan for the day. Now last week we were talking about the monetary policy press release and related stuff. Now today I'm going to give you some flavor or some guidance in relation to financial economic news, which is very relevant to the monetary policy press release that I talked about last week. Now in this session, basically a 5 minutes or 10 minute session, what I want to give you is basically some guidance, some encouragement for you to look at financial and economic news, because that is really important for us if we are basically working or acting as a financial professional, and also if you are basically a student of studying financial system related areas. You have to have some clear understanding about what's happening around you, what's going on basically in the financial system and also broadly in the economy, broader economy. So this session will give you some basic guidance to focus on those financial and economic news. So it's basically financial press. Now we all like news, isn't it? We all like news. On a day-to-day basis, we hear news, we listen to news, or we basically watch news, or basically we get updates in terms of text messages, or we basically look at other social media, Facebook, Twitter, and all that. All these modes give us some of the news items on a day-to-day basis. So in terms of news, what do we really like actually? What type of news that we are talking about? Now, if you look at on a day-to-day basis, we really get some interest in news, and we like to listen or watch these news. Now, if you look at some Sinhala papers in Sri Lanka, you get news like this. If you look at the screen, these are like gossips. For example, Ganita Padame Trikonanga Sama Novi Sisuviya Gurutumia Sapakala, right? These are like gossips. We like them. And even the second one, it's a gossip. We like them. Now, my point here, if you look at some of the papers around you, most of the papers, you have these, kind of news, gossips. Even the actual news, the true news is reported as a gossip, or it is a kind of a narrated story. A news should be a news. It should be, clean news without any modification, alteration, narration. But if you look at most of the news in the Sinhala media, especially, you get narrated news. The news is basically, enhanced to, bring up a story. Now, for example, I see some of the television news, some news bulletins. Let's say a murder, they narrate the story. They have, people who are acting and people who are, narrating, giving voice, giving dubbing and all that. They basically narrate the story. I can imagine, why they do it, basically to, attract the viewership or to have a kind of a market. That's the purpose. But basically, what we have is kind of a news which we have some kind of a interesting aspect of the news. That is the bottom line. That's possible, common in Sinhala papers, as I said, because of the large viewership that they are planning. Now, if you look at some of the news papers, especially English newspapers, we basically get some financial information. Even in Sri Lanka, in some Sinhala papers, you have this financial information. But mostly in English papers, you have a page or a section or a kind of a tabloid for financial news. We call it financial press, where we have information on the economy, the financial system, and the market. That is basically in the in these financial news. So what do we mean by financial press? Basically, it is media that is engaging, reporting news pertaining to finance and related matters. As I said, it could be broader economic news, it could be broader financial news, or even some market, some institution wise, whatever, all are related to the performance or the developments in the financial system. Now, how do we traditionally, when we want to have news, what we did was basically we looked at papers. Okay, traditionally, even in Sri Lanka, in some newspapers, as I said, you have a separate section for these financial news. In some cases, a separate paper, kind of a bulletin. That's the traditional method. Now, what I request you to do is you have to look at these financial news on a regular basis. That is our plan. If you are into this subject, not even in this subject, let's say you are studying any other, finance related or the course units related to this broader program, you have to have basically kind of a understanding about the financial system and the surrounding. That is my point. Now, what is the easiest way? Best method is web-based news media. Now, web-based news or the web is today's context is a must, right? I have put some cartoons to show that. Even they think of having a website, right? Now, in today's context, we are really techno people. We are really kind of a social media based people, and we are always into the World Wide Web, searching for information and news and sharing news. What you do is basically on your Facebook, you share news or you basically obtain news. So similarly, that concept can be applied to get some understanding about news. So web-based mechanism is the best way, because I understand most of us, we don't have, basically time to, have some, relaxed situation and to read the newspaper on a day-to-day basis. But I know in some of the office, you get the papers in the morning. So you can have a, basically a kind of a glance into the papers, just scan the papers in the morning. That is also possible. But let's say that is even a difficult task for you. Let's say you can have website. Always, even at the washroom, you can look at the website and get some feeling about news. So here I have suggested some of the important web pages related to news, especially the local newspapers and also international newspapers or news webs. So one of the important international website is Financial Times, FT. If you log into the Financial Times, let's say whether we can log into this site. If I click it, let's say we can open, whether we can open it. Yes. So this is the Financial Times page. And if you look at this page, on these tabs, you have all the information, important information. The world news, the US news, companies, techno news, markets, graphics, opinions, and all that. Here you have currencies. Here you have a separate tab for visiting market data. And also most of the important financial news is available in this website. Okay, so that is one of the important websites. Then the Wall Street Journal, one of the oldest papers in the world. Wall Street means the US based financial news agency. There you have information on all markets and related stuff. So if I click it, you will see on the Wall Street page, again you have data on the world, US, politics, even political information, economy, business, tech, markets, opinion, similar to the Financial Times. So let's click on business. There you have all these industries and related stuff. If you look at the market, even every market data is there. So let's say you click on stocks, so you get stock market information, the most recent information, most recent developments across the world. So it's very important and convenient. Then the Reuters. Reuters, I think we are familiar with the Reuters. We all have experience with regard to Reuters, which means maybe you have a neighbor called Reuters, but that's why I said we all have some experience related to Reuters. But this Reuters is basically for data, for information. So if I click it, you will see the Reuters website. There also you have business information, market information, every market. Right now, for example, we are interested in commodities. What's happening in the commodity market nowadays? We know commodity market is doing somewhat okay because of the weakening economy aspect. Some people are basically moving into some of the assets like for example gold. So if you search for gold prices, you will see metals. For example, gold. Look at the gold price, 1,800. So which is a very high price. Now, if you look at the gold price in the market, local market, it's close to 100,000 today, which means these assets are gaining some importance in a crisis like this. So such information is really important. Then a similar website is CNBC. There also you have important information. Bloomberg, one of the important news agencies. Now I understand in most of the office, especially in the banks, you have this Bloomberg terminal actually for transaction. Now here, if you terminal is a costly one, you have to invest it and you have to get it from the Bloomberg, the facility. But we don't need a terminal. We can have the Bloomberg website. So if you look into the website, all information related to commodities, stocks, interest rates, bonds, currencies, futures, which means derivatives, fixed income securities. ETF means basically exchange trust funds. All these information available on the Bloomberg website. So that is also one of the important websites. Then very conveniently, you can simply look at the Yahoo Finance page. Now Yahoo, we all, basically on a day-to-day basis, we log into the Yahoo page, for example, for our email. So when you click on Yahoo, there's another item called Yahoo Finance. So if you log into the Yahoo Finance, there also you will see a lot of important information, right, about markets. These are basically markets: S&P, Dow, Nasdaq, Russell, crude oil. All these are important information. Now the importance of Yahoo is you can download data, right? You can download data on Excel format. So you can search for important data what you want, and simply you can download such data into your PC. That is also one of the important facilities with the Yahoo Finance. Then we have a website called Central Bank News. There you have all related information on central banking, whether interest rates have gone down across countries or what has happened. Now here, these are the latest. North Macedonia maintains interest rate. Indonesia cuts the rate for the first time, right? Canada holds rates. The Poland, Japan, Canada, South Korea, Indonesia, they have basically what they have done. And here about Sri Lanka cuts rates for the first time, for fifth time, right? So that information is available. Interest rates, whether policy is basically tightening or relaxing, inflation numbers, right? These are inflation target numbers of countries. Every important information is there. Then the local context, Sri Lanka. There are a couple of important newspapers. I don't want to be a promoter of these newspapers, but these are important in terms of information that we need. Now, for example, the FT, Sri Lanka, also we have an FT, Financial Times. There you have some important information about financial markets. So if you go to the FT newspaper, there you have a separate section for business, right? So if you look into that business part, you will get some important information, right? Especially if you go to this e-paper, you get this information. And then Daily Mirror, Times, all these are important sources of news. And of course, very important, central bank website. Now, if you look into the central bank website, there you have very important information related to the financial system and the monetary policy. So those are the most important two things. But in addition, you have a lot of statistics here about the real sector, external sector, fiscal sector, monetary sector, and daily prices, indicators on a weekly, monthly basis, macro chart pack, prosperity index, PMI, BOS, credit supply data, everything is here. And if you need, let's say, inflation data, if you need, let's say, what's happening with related to the COVID-19 related measures, what's the progress, it's there. A data library is there for you to get historical data. Exchange rates, we are very much interested in exchange rate. For example, what's the current spot rate, what is the current dollar rate. So you have even the charts. These charts can be expanded into the previous periods. For example, if you want to have the last 1 year period, you get charts like this, 1 month. So it's very convenient way of getting data. And also this tab, the press release tab, there you have press releases for all the sectors in the economy, especially the monetary policy and the external sector. These are the most important press releases published by the central bank. And also if you need to get some legal information, any laws or acts related to the financial system, it's there. As I said, the financial system data and all this stuff, especially some publications of the central bank, annual report, financial stability review, all these are available on the central bank website. So I really recommend you to look at the central bank website also for some important information, right? So my habit actually to review some of the information and news on a weekly basis. So if we meet in person actually here at IBSL, that would be very convenient, but I understand it's difficult while we are conducting classes remotely. But then and there, let's try to look at to see whether you were able to look at some of the data or information or news. Now, on a weekly basis, I might ask, what did you notice on the financial news? So you can basically give me a feedback on current happenings, or you can write on the chat box. So we will see whether you are basically following the financial press. Okay. Now with that, let's move to our first task. What I told you last week, to look at the monetary policy review and to get some understanding about three things. So I basically mentioned three things there. First, I want you to give some idea about the decision of the monetary board, monetary policy, and what is the rationale and what is the outlook. So those are the key elements in any press release, monetary policy press release of the central bank. Not even the Sri Lankan central bank, any other central bank, their press release will have three basic information: the decision, the rationale behind the decision, and the outlook. Now let me get back to if I open the press release, so I have the press release here. Let's skip this part or escape from this part, and I'll come back to, for example, the session. Down. I'm trying to see the chat box. Okay, it's here. Right. Now we have 30 more people here, 33 people join the session. Now, the first thing, I hope most of you are able to look at the press release. And can somebody tell me what was the decision of the monetary board? I'm talking about the latest monetary policy review. What has happened? What the central bank has done in the latest monetary policy review? I just so unable to see the screen of the website after you click on the link. Okay, can't see the screen, which means you cannot see the website. You couldn't see the website, isn't it? Any response? Some people have written yes. So a website only, right? But you could see the slides. Krishni, could you were you able to see the slides? Okay, so don't worry, slides are with you now. Can see the slides. Okay, great. Now you have the slides with you on the LMS, so you can use them. Now if you click on the link that I have given, if you have the internet in your machine or your phone, the website will be open. But don't worry, even if you don't have the link there or on real-time basis, later on you can just Google and see these websites: Financial Times, Wall Street, Bloomberg. So all are possible. Don't worry, you can do it. Okay. Now, can we move to the discussion today? The first question: what was the monetary policy decision? Can somebody tell me? I hear your voice also. I think most of you are on the microphone on mode. So can somebody tell me what was the decision of the central bank in terms of monetary policy? Okay, somebody has responded here. I think straight away somebody has copied from the press release and put up here. That's fine. But let me know what has happened. Monetary policy relax or tighten. Now we have learned these terms now. Relaxation of monetary policy or tightening of monetary policy. What really has happened? Monetary policy. Relax or tighten? Relax. Great. Okay. How it has been relaxed? There you have the answer. In the very first paragraph of the press release, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka decided to reduce interest rates. So these rates, as somebody put up here, Uvinya, as she has put up here, the rates, the key rates are the standing deposit facility and the standing lending facility have been reduced. How much? By 100 basis points. 100 basis points means simply 1%. Right? So those rates have been reduced by 1%. The standing deposit facility rate 4.5%, standing lending facility rate 5.5%. So the gap is 1%, but they were basically brought down from the previous level. And as somebody has mentioned here, with that, the bank rate, the penal rate that I was talking about, remember, lend of last resort rate, when banks are borrowing at the financial panic, that rate also get adjusted. Now, with the standing lending facility rate, there is a 3% margin for the bank rate. So with that, bank rate will become 8.5%. Statutory reserve ratio already reduced in the previous session. Now it is 2%. So these are the rates right now. Standing deposit facility rate 4.5, standing lending facility rate 5.5. So you have to keep that in mind. This is very important, those numbers, because in the paper you have to answer in terms of numbers as well. Okay, keep that in mind. And also, why I say that you should look at the financial press, these rates might change. By the time you write the exam, the rates might change. It could be even, lower, or even could be higher. We don't know. Depending on the movements of the economy, it could be high. So it's really important that you have to have some understanding about the current rates. So usually I have a kind of a wish in my class. I always say, okay, please central bank revise the rates before the exam. Okay. So by the time I teach the rates, these are the rates. So my prayer is basically a central bank would, revise these rates before your exam. So please look at the financial press. You have to have the current rates. So that's the first task. Second thing, what is the rationale? Rationale. Why the central bank has reduced rates? That's available in the press release. Now, why the central bank has now, we notice on the centralbanking.com website, they say the central bank has reduced interest rate for the 5th time, which means we have basically relaxed the interest rates very rapidly in a speedier manner during last few many months. So why? What is the rationale? Can somebody tell me? Why do we need to relax interest rates? Why do we need to relax the monetary policy? Can't you see the screen? Can't you see my video? I'm on the screen actually. No? Can you see it now? The slide? Okay. Right. Now you can see. Now let me know why now actually on the screen, not the slide, you will see myself, right? Because I want to see the chat box. So I have minimized the slide right now. Now, can somebody tell me why the central bank has decided to reduce interest rates? Any response? Does anybody want to give the answer? Or just type the answer why we have basically. Great. Okay. For banks to allow to grant more loans to the general public and affected businesses. Very important point, because nowadays we know with this COVID-19 pandemic impact, many businesses are affected, people are affected, all these economic activities are held up. So we need to give some boost to the economic activity. We need to give some support to the financial system in terms of the growth prospect. Now we know entire world is going to a recession. What is the estimated growth rate for this year for global economy? Negative 4.9 growth. Can you imagine? The growth would be negative 4.9. Even during the global financial crisis, it didn't go to this negative, this much. I think we are experiencing this negative growth rate after roughly 90 years. In 1930s, we have observed this kind of a negative growth in the world economy. But after that, we were having negative growth rates, but not like this. So this year, roughly 5% negative growth in the global economy with the impact of coronavirus. And even in Sri Lanka, we think the growth would be very low. It may not be negative, but it will be low. So we need to support economic activity by way of giving cheap credit, giving liquidity to the market. Liquidity means we have to pump more money to the system by way of giving some monetary and fiscal stimulus. So the government is trying to give support. The central bank is trying to give support to the economy, because there is some requirement that the businesses in the economy, they do their activities without any hindrance. So we wanted to have some promotion of economic activity, or we need to encourage economic activity through cheap credit and abundance of liquidity. We need to have more money in the system, and that's possible because right now we see our inflation. Inflation is less than 5%. Last month, inflation in terms of the CCPI, it was around 3.9%. So inflation is under control. Remember our discussion, when inflation is under control, we have some space for relaxation of monetary policy to support economic activity. Now, this time is very different because it's an extraordinary situation. We need to give some support to the economy, and as a result, the central bank has considered that it is very appropriate to further reduce the interest rates and relax the monetary policy. Okay, clear? So from your answers, what I see is there is a clear understanding as to what has happened in the economy. What is the outlook? What is the central bank's expectation with these policy measures? What the central bank think going forward? We know the decision, we know the rationale. What is the outlook? What is the central bank's expectation about the future? Any good answer, please? If you have read the press release, basically you might have some understanding as to why the central bank has reduced the interest rates and what is the expectation going forward. With these policy measures, what can happen? Does anyone want to give an answer? Now, let's say interest rates have reduced. There is enough money in the system and interest rates are low. What can you expect going forward? I see a lot of names here. May I ask? Chalani, do you have any answer? Sanjula, Dilshan, Nadini, Govinya, Kirtika, any good answer, please? I'm waiting to see your answer. Why the central bank has reduced rates and what can you expect? I think we have answered the first part. Now, if the rates are brought down, what can you expect? Simply. Do you hear me? Okay. Anushya giving an answer, encouraging manufacturing fields rather than encouraging imports. Okay, that can be expected because of the low rates. There could be the production will start. Somebody said to promote economic growth. Migara. Dilshan says to stabilize the economy without further declining performance of the economy. To increase money supply, expand the economy. Okay, so what you are telling is broadly right, broadly correct. So why do we need this policy relaxation? First thing, we need to have some decline in interest rates. When the central bank reduces interest rate, now the press release says, so far the central bank has reduced interest rate by 2.5% compared to the previous level, right? And also the central bank has reduced SRR by 3%. So it's a large reduction. With all this, money levels going up, the central bank interest rates going down. So what can you expect in the broader economy? The first thing what we need to observe is market interest rates are coming down. So market interest rates should decline. There should be a substantial decline in market interest rates, which means interest rates of the financial system, basically rates offered by the banks. Those rates should come down drastically because the central bank has reduced the policy rates very sharply. Okay, so when interest rates are coming down, basically we will see people are borrowing, loans or lending is going up, economic activities are picking up. So that can be expected going forward. So as a result, we will see a recovery of the economy. So these are words written in the press release. You will see a recovery in the economy, and also banking sector is doing well in terms of activities to support the economic recovery. So that is the intention of reducing these interest rates. So that is basically what we have in the latest press release. Now, in the next press releases also, you will see these this structure. Basically, what is the central bank decision, what is the central bank decision's rationale, and what could be the outcome that the central bank is expecting. So I am sharing this link here. Probably you can click it and see the website and the central bank monetary policy press release, which we have discussed here, is very clearly written there. And the next release will be on 20th August, basically in 1 month's time. So I really recommend you to look at that as well. I will remind you, but that is important. Before your exam, there could be, couple of press releases and there could be changes in the interest rates. So we have to have some clear understanding about the current rates. Okay, everyone is clear? Do you have any question? Can we move to the next discussion? Okay, let's move to the discussion what we had last week. Okay, so I'm going to close this slide set. Probably you can get from your LMS. There you have these links, so don't worry, all the websites given with the link. So please go through those websites when you have some time. So I'm moving to the previous discussion what we had, the recorded session. I'm sure you may have followed these slides, and even you can replay and see what we have basically discussed there. Okay. Can you see the slides, please? Interest rates. Okay, you can. Now there we stop somewhere here. Slide number. I'm not so sure the number. I can't see numbers on my screen. But here, commercial bank lending and deposit rates. This is the place we stopped last week. Now, at the same time, I asked you to do some homework. So here we have all these rates given with the latest numbers, with the movements up to, I think, 2019. This is from the annual report. Now, if you look at these rates, you will see a further downward trend with the relaxation of monetary policy. What I ask you to do is give some definitions for these interest rates based on the chapter 7 of the annual report. Now, let's see whether you were able to look at these definitions, or whether you have some idea about these definitions. Okay, probably you can give me an answer, or you can just type here. At least we will see whether you can, give some few answers. So what is AWPR? What is the definition? First, let me know what is meant by these abbreviations. AWPR. What do you mean by AWPR? First, give me the full term. I'm sure we must be having bankers in this forum, in this class. So bankers would know definitely the AWPR. What do you mean by AWPR? How do you call it? What do you call it? Average weighted prime lending rate. Exactly, correct. Thank you. So what do you mean by average weighted prime lending rate? Let's say without writing the lengthy definition, can someone tell me this rate? If you look at the name, it says the average weighted. Now the rate here we observe is not a simple rate. It's not a simple interest rate. Why? It is an average. When you say an average, it is a combination of rates, different rates, average. So we are simply putting or presenting an average rate for all interest rates. And it says average weighted. Why it is weighted? If you take the simple average, you will have a bias. Now let's say you have a simple rates 5% and 6%. If you take the average, it should be 5.5, right? But if you take the rates, maybe those rates are for very small loans or very large loans. That is not reflective if you take the average, simple average. So as a result, you have to have basically a weighted average. Weighted average means you look at the size of the loan, size of the deposit, whether it is a small one, large one, that is important when you define the average rate. So you call it average weighted rates. Then what is prime lending rate? Prime means who are the prime? Who gets this prime rate? In a bank, we have a separate segment, an important segment for every bank. Customer segment. Who are these customers? Prime customers. So prime customers means they are the most important customers in the bank. Top end clients, exactly. Top end clients. Why? They are getting a low interest rate generally. Why they are considered as top end clients? Because they are borrowing in a large scale. Let's say a company. The company could be a prime customer because their loans are huge and they have good ratings. They are very credit worthy. Prime customer means a credit worthy customer, a top end credit worthy customer where the bank does not have any risk in terms of default. So those prime customers in a bank, they are in numbers, they are very few, but in terms of share of loans, they could be large. So we call them as prime customers. So average prime lending rate means, I'm giving you the definition now. Write down it, please. The average prime lending rate, or AWPR, the definition is the rate, the average rate at which banks lend to their prime or credit-worthy customers. Average lending rate given to their most credit-worthy customers. Why do you say credit-worthy? As I said, they are having a very good rating. They might be borrowing in a large scale and they get a lower rate generally. Now, if you go back to the chart, in this chart, if you look at the AWPR here, this orange line is a relatively lower rate compared to other lending rates. There are some rates below that, but they are actually deposit rates. Deposit rates are always lower. No? But if you take the orange line, that is lower than the purple line and this yellow line. The purple line, yellow line are also in lending rates, but the orange line, which is the AWPR, lowest compared to other lending rates. That's the reason is, as I said, the prime customers get a best rate, lowest rate compared to other customers. Okay. Then we have AWLR in this chart, the purple line, AWLR. So how do you define AWLR? That is average weighted lending rate. Average weighted lending rate. As I said, average weighted means the average is taken in terms of the size of the loan. So it's given weights based on the size. So average weighted lending rate. So how do you define? This is the commercial bank's average lending rate for all outstanding loans. Commercial banks average lending rate for all outstanding. Outstanding means, what do you mean by outstanding? Standing outside? What do you mean by it? Outstanding means unsettled. Still it's there, not settled. So if you take the average rate for all commercial banking loans given in the history, that reflects AWLR. Now generally AWLR is the highest, the purple line. Why it is highest? All the customers are there, not only prime, non-prime, every customer is there. And also rates like given to special or some different categories are also there. Now, for example, we know credit cards. Credit card rates are higher. Normally 24%, 28%, generally high rates. So those rates are also under this AWLR. That's why you call it all outstanding loans. Okay. Then we have AWNLR in the chart, the yellow line. That is also can be defined as a lending rate. AWNLR, there is an N, which means average weighted new lending rate. Average weighted new lending rate. What do you mean by that? These are commercial bank average loan rates based on new loans given in a particular month. New loans given in a particular month. Now it's very similar to AWLR. There you have all the rates, but AWLR we have past data also. Let's say a loan is given 5 years back at high rates. That is also here under AWLR. But under NLR, you have rates only for the latest month. The recent month is captured. So if you need to see the dynamics of interest rates, the current rates, there are two important variables that we can focus on. The first one is AWLR because it is prime customer rate. The other one is AWNLR, that is the rate for all customers, but in a particular month, a recent month. Clear? Any question? AWLR is the yellow line. No, somebody is asking a question. Let's see on the. Yes, correct. AWLR is the yellow line. So if you look at AWLR is high compared to the orange line, which is the AWPR. That is the point I want to make. The prime rates are getting a lower rate. Normal customers are getting a higher rate. That's why the yellow rate is higher. Now, the purple line, somebody has pointed out, AWNLR, the new lending rate. In some cases, if you look at this part, the NLR is much higher, even compared to the LR, which means at that point, the rates were very high. Now, if you come to this part, what you will see? Now, NLR is a bit lower than the LR, which indicates current rates are becoming low. Right? Always the yellow line LR is having the legacy impact. Legacy impact means impact of the history. If there is a loan given in 20 years back, housing loan, let's say, still that impact is here. Clear? Very good point, Takshishan. Very good point. Sorry if I misspelled your name, but a good point. Good observation, actually. Any other questions or observations before we move to the other part? Is anyone having some questions or any observations? Sir, can you give please definition for NLR? Yes, sure. I'll repeat it. That is the average weighted commercial bank lending rates. Average weighted of the commercial bank lending rate based on new loans in a particular month. New loans in a particular month. So there you capture only 1 month. The rates within that month. There are no past rates. That's the point. Now I told you AWPR only prime customers. But if you want to know what is the rate for other customers, you have to rely on AWNLR. It's a very important rate. Okay. Are there any more questions? Are you okay now, Nadini? You got the point? Okay. Sorry, I'm calling by names. Probably this name is not yours, right? Probably you might be using some other's computer or phone. So the name I see here is, what I can see. I don't know actually your name. So maybe I'm calling your right name or somebody else's name. But don't worry. If you have the device with you, that's you. Okay. Right. Can we move to the other part? Now, the other 3 rates, all D's are deposit rates. In this chart, if you look at the lowest rates, the red line, the yellow line, green line, and the blue line. Red, green, blue. These three rates are the lowest rates in the chart. They are deposit rates. Okay. Now there are three types of deposit rates that we are looking at in Sri Lanka. The first one is AWDR. Again, AW means average weighted, DR means deposit rate, average weighted deposit rate. Average weighted, we already know, that is the average based on the size of the deposit. What do you mean by AWDR? So here is the definition. That is the commercial bank's average weighted rate, for all outstanding deposits. Average weighted rate for all outstanding deposits. Deposits. For all outstanding deposits. So when I say outstanding deposits means which are with the bank. They are basically with the bank, not matured. All outstanding means we have all deposits there. When I say all, what do we have? There are a number of deposits in this category, in this definition. You have savings, time, whole deposits. There are various types of deposits in a bank. So every deposit is captured here. Usually we know savings rates are having a lowest rates. Time deposits are, or fixed deposits are having high rates. Call deposits basically in between. So if you take the average of all three, you get the AWDR. So that's why I said average weighted rate for all outstanding deposits. Okay, AWDR. AWFDR, now if you look at this chart, it is the lowest, the red line, because you have all deposits there including savings. The largest category is savings. So savings is driving the rate down because of the lower rates. AWFDR, here in this chart, is the green line. It is little higher than AWDR. Why? That is the average weighted fixed deposit rates. So you can take the same definition. This is the average weighted rate for all outstanding fixed deposits. All outstanding fixed deposits. Okay. There you have only fixed deposits because we know savings rates are low. So if you put everything together, we don't know what is the rate received by savers, because savers are very much interested in the FD rate, the fixed deposit rate, because that's their return. So in order to understand what is the return for savers, depositors, you have to calculate this FD rate. So this is a very important rate. Okay. Now the problem of these all AWDR and AWFDR, what is the problem? Can somebody tell me why there is a problem with these two rates? Do you observe any problem with these two rates? Can somebody give me an answer? What is the problem with these two rates, AWDR and FDR? Any answer? These rates are having this in the definition. You have the term outstanding. Outstanding means all unmatured deposits, which means you have every deposit that you have collected. Normally, a deposit lifetime of a deposit is 5 years normally, right? I don't know whether banks are offering, more than that, but as far as I know, the maximum deposit period is 5 years. Right? If there are more than 5 years, these are not actual deposits, some other, products, maybe insurance type of products and all that. I'll come back to the presentation. Yes. Now, these two rates, AWDR and FDR, you having the legacy impact, which means the past rates are captured. If you need to look at the current interest rate structure for deposits, you have to look at AWNDR. AWNDR. What is the definition? The abbreviation is basically giving us the idea, average weighted new deposit rate. Now, how do you define the NED? That is the commercial banking average weighted rate for deposits based on new deposits offered in a particular month. Rates for new deposits offered in a particular month. So if you need to get some feeling about current rates, you have to have the new deposit rates. So in this chart, the blue line, light blue line is basically new deposit rate. Now, if you come back to this part towards the end of 2019, you will see earlier it was higher, now it has come down. Now, if you update this chart to 2020, this rate will be further down because we know interest rates have come down. Okay. Now, I hope you have some clear idea. Any question? I'll share the presentation. Is anyone having a problem of this part? About the 6 rates? Any question? All clear? Okay, then let's move to the next session. I think I discussed these rates also in a brief manner last week. I'll just repeat it. The legal rate and market rate. I told you these rates are used for court cases, for legal activities. Because let's say in a contract, if a particular rate is not mentioned, usually in the contract you have the rate mentioned, right? If there's a default or whatever, how do you recover funds, it's mentioned. But let's say if it is not specifically mentioned and if it is gone to the courts, the court decides at which rate that you should be compensated or at which rate you should be paying. For that matter, we have this legal rate and market rate. And I told you here we have numbers, both rates are the same number. For 2020, the rate is 11.64. Why these two rates are similar? Because it is calculated based on deposit rates of the banking system. So both legal rate and market rate are calculated based on deposit rates of the market banking sector. That's why they are similar. Why then you have two different terms, legal and market rates? Because these are coming under two different legislations. The first rate, legal rate, is coming from the Civil Procedure Code. Market rate is coming from the Debt Recovery Act. So probably your court case is different depending on the depending on the contract's nature, you might be having different acts playing in this scenario. So that's why you have different interest rates, okay, different terms. I hope it's clear. Let's move to the rest. I mentioned to you about these international rates, the Fed funds rate and the London interbank offered rates. I'm not going to repeat it, but basically these rates are important international rates or very important rates in the global financial market. Now, every player in the global economy, they are looking at these rates. What is happening with the Fed funds rate? The Fed funds rate is the policy rate of the United States Central Bank. Now, with the COVID impact, it has blown down to very low levels. Actually, now it's very close to zero. The range is 0 to 0.25. Similarly, London interbank offer rate. This is the average rate in the London interbank market for indicative. This is actually indicative rate for banks to borrow and lend. And that rate also, if you look at latest numbers, very low, very close to 0% with the COVID impact. And we call it LIBOR in short. LIBOR is the most important benchmark rate in the world. Benchmark means in every financial contract, global financial contract, this is taken as a base. So you add some, basis points to this. Let's say LIBOR plus 20 basis points, LIBOR plus 100 basis points. Likewise, you have some margin and that is used as a benchmark. And for different currencies, you have different LIBOR rates. This chart actually, I discussed last week. The monetary policy cycles are given by the green and red areas. Greens are basically the relaxed period. Red periods are basically tight periods. You will see in tight periods, inflation is high and central bank is increasing interest rates. In relaxed periods, inflation is coming down the dotted line and central bank is relaxing interest rate. So the point here is interest rate is basically guided by the movements of inflation. That is the idea. When central bank sees inflation is going up, it increases interest rates and all market rates will be increased. So as a result, there will be a tight monetary condition and vice versa. And I told you these rates are having, interest rates are having impacts on financial markets, prices, as well as individual institutions' balance sheets. For example, the bank balance sheets, assets, interest costs, all these are affected by these interest rates. Then I told you to look at the questions. Here, what I said, some proof. The question number 1, 4 of 2015, the stand-in deposit facility rate applicable at present is, you have to know the rates. You need to know the rate. Okay. And also I talk about nominal and real interest rate. If inflation is 2%, real rate is 3%, what is the nominal rate? You need to be able to calculate the rate, right? Simply the nominal rate is the sum of inflation rate and real rate. So in this case, 2% plus 3%, 5%. So likewise, the real rates, nominal rates, simple rates, compounded rates, I discuss all these things. Here in this question, you will see the definition of London interbank offered rates. So you need to know LIBOR rate, and also here you have AWPR, you have to know the definition. So in most cases, you need to know the current numbers. Okay, that is really important. Now, the last question, if you look at, this is given in different form. What is the applicable interest rate when licensed commercial bank borrows from the central bank on overnight basis? Let's see whether anyone is able to give an answer, right? Can somebody type the answer for me? What is the rate for this one? Applicable interest rate when licensed commercial bank borrows from the central bank on overnight basis. Is anyone having an answer for that? reverse repurchase. Okay. Vimandi has written reverse repurchase agreement. So that is the product actually. You're right. It is based on a reverse repurchase agreement. The rate applicable is reverse repurchase rate. In that sense, you are right. Reverse repurchase rate. In Sri Lanka, now let's say the question says, what is the applicable interest rate when a licensed commercial bank borrows from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka? Now, can we give this answer is correct. Now, the examiner will give you marks, reverse repurchase rate. But in Sri Lanka, we use a specific term for that, specific word for such rate. What is that rate? Any idea, Vimandi? Do you have the idea? Standing, is it deposit when they borrow from the central bank? When they deposit, of course, it is standing deposit facility rate. Exactly, standing lending rate, standing lending facility rate. So if you have written standing lending facility rate or SLFR, you get marks. Currently 5.5, right? If you need more information. So please be aware of these questions and also current numbers. I think with that we can conclude the discussion on interest rates. Any questions? Do you have any questions? No? How about others? Clear? Great. Now, will you assure that you will look at financial press from today based on the sources I have given? There are some international news agencies, web pages, Sri Lanka news agencies, papers, so web links, a lot of things are there. So will you be starting to do that from today to look at the financial press? Probably you may have already done it. Some people, they have a habit to look at the news. So I really recommend, if you don't have that habit, I know we are interested in news. That's okay, even I'm interested in, but what I'm telling you is focus on financial news as well. That is needed. Now, for example, let's say if you are working in the working environment, you need to know what's happening around, right? What has happened in the economy, what is the current interest rates, what are the current, global trends. You have to have some clear idea. When is our exam? Of course, I don't know. Right now, we don't have, clear guidance in regards to the exam. But in terms of our sessions, let's take a guess from that. Now, we are actually, we have completed roughly 1/3 of our discussions. So this is the 6th session. So there will be at least 15 to 16 sessions, right? Which means we are actually at very early stage. So probably the exam will be in, I think, mostly 2 to 3 months away, right? So usually in our cycle, the exam was in September. So let's say, but we started a little late, right? We couldn't start in April. No? If we have started in April, it will be in September. But we started, I think, in June, isn't it? We started our discussions in June, so it will be a bit late, not in September, I guess. Let's see. Any other questions? if not, let's move to the today's slide set. Can everyone see the slide? Financial institutions, central banks. Can everyone see the slide? Okay, central banks. Now, from today onwards, we are moving to a new section. Now, up to now, what we have done from our first discussion, we laid the foundation to say in the financial system, there are different components. Remember, we started with money and the central bank. If we said that is the basis of the financial system. Then we have other financial institutions, markets, infrastructure, safety nets. Likewise, it's a combination of elements we have in the financial system. Okay. Now, from today, we are moving to financial institutions, from money to financial institutions. And also, when we say money, we know money is related to central banks. So central banks are the most important financial institutions in the economy. Other than commercial banks, they are playing a big role. But in terms of money and the system's nature, stability, the central bank is playing a bigger role. So from today onwards, actually today, maybe next week, we will be discussing about central banks as the key financial institutions. We call them as apex financial institutions. In a financial system, they are the controlling institutions of the institutions in the economy. Okay. Financial institutions, how do you define? They are acting as agents providing financial services for their clients. Now, there are a number of financial institutions in the economy. For example, in this small diagram, you will see starting from the central bank, there are banks, finance companies, leasing companies, primary dealers, money brokers, securities firms, insurance companies, pension and provident funds, unit trust companies, venture capital companies, microfinance institutions. Nowadays, other than these, we have derivative companies or derivative agencies, credit rating agencies. Likewise, there are various financial institutions operating in the system, and they are providing financial services. The nature of the institution will be defined by the service that they are providing. For example, a bank is becoming a bank because it provides banking activities for the public. A money broker will become a broker because it provides some brokerage for needy sectors. A primary dealer will become a primary dealer because it provides some dealership in certain transactions. So likewise, the action of these institutions will determine the nature of the financial institution. So as a result, we can say they are like agents providing some financial services to the clients. Now, generally, financial institutions are regulated. Generally, in the financial system, these institutions are regulated by someone. May not be the central bank for all, right? Now, if you take the institutions in this list, some of the institutions are actually regulated by a central bank. For example, banks, finance companies, leasing companies, primary dealers, money brokers, they are regulated by the central bank. But there are some entities regulated by some other regulator. For example, insurance companies are not regulated by the central bank. They are regulated by a regulatory authority, some other regulatory authority. In Sri Lanka, it's insurance regulatory commission. Let's say venture capital companies, they are not regulated by the central bank. They are regulated by Securities and Exchange Commission, even in Sri Lanka, SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. But overall, these institutions are falling under some authority actually. Some authority will regulate the actions of these institutions. Right? Now, among these institutions, our first pickup today is the central bank, as I already mentioned, because it is the most important financial institutions in the economy that we need to have some clear understanding about these institutions. Right? Now, before we move to the next slide, can anyone define a central bank? What is a central bank? What is a central bank? Before I go to the proper definition, can anyone give me an answer? What is a central bank? A trusted and authoritative source. Very good answer. A regulator. What else? It's a monetary authority. Okay. Good answers. What else? A primary regulated entity for all financial institutions. The good answer, but let's avoid saying all financial institutions, because as I said, in an economy, the central bank may not regulate all. There could be some other institutions regulated by some other entities, but broadly, the key institutions are supervised by the central bank. But good answer. What else? A monetary planner. Okay. What else? Any other way? Any more answers? No? Okay, let's go back to the slide. All your answers are well in line with our definition. Okay. Hope you can see the slide. What is a central bank? Now, central bank by name, it's central. In most of the countries, we use the term central bank. In Sri Lanka, we have Central Bank of Sri Lanka. In Egypt, we have Central Bank of Egypt. In some other countries, you have likewise central banks in most of the countries. We also use the term Reserve Bank. Countries like USA, they call it Federal Reserve System. India, Reserve Bank of India. Australia, Reserve Bank of Australia. New Zealand, Reserve Bank of New Zealand. In South Africa, Reserve Bank of South Africa. So some people say it's the Reserve Bank. Reserve means basically a deposit, right? What is the deposit they have? A deposit from the commercial banks. So some people call it a reserve bank. Some countries, they have the monetary authority. I saw some of you have answered saying it's a monetary authority. Correct. In Bhutan, they have a monetary authority, Royal Monetary Authority. In Singapore, it's Monetary Authority. In Hong Kong, it's Hong Kong Monetary Authority. Likewise, in many countries, they have monetary authorities. In some countries, they have specific term for the central bank. For example, in England, they call it Bank of England. In Sweden, they call it Riksbank. Riks, R-I-K-S, Riks. In Japan, they call it Bank of Japan. In China, they call it People's Bank of China. In Nepal, they call it Rashtra Bank of Nepal. Rashtra means royal. So likewise, in different countries, you have different terms for the central bank. But irrespective of the term, in terms of their actions and the nature, we can simply define a central bank as an autonomous organization. Autonomous organization entrusted by a government to administer certain key monetary functions. It's an autonomous institution entrusted by the government to administer key monetary functions. So it's an autonomous organization. Autonomous organization means independent. Normally, central banks are established as independent institutions. Independence means basically they are not coming under a government department. Central bank is not a department. It's not a statutory board. It's not a corporation. It's a separate entity created by a separate law. Created by a separate law. Usually it comes under the finance ministry because to ensure the link between the government, but otherwise it is not a government organization, even though it is created by the government. And the other reason to say the central bank is autonomous or independent is it does not depend on government budget. Central banks are not relying on the government financial position. In other words, the central banks are not paid by the government. The government does not allocate any funds from their consolidated fund for the central bank or its activities. So it's entirely funded by own. Central bank is funded by their own money. So that's why you call it an autonomous institution. And also to use their tools, they have the independence. For example, if the central bank wants to change their interest rate, it doesn't need to ask from the government. It has the power by law, by its law. So it's an autonomous institution. Entrusted by the government means it is the government authority is delegated to the central bank. Central bank is serving for the nation. Central bank is serving for the country. So why it is given to the central bank? Because government cannot handle this function. Both fiscal and monetary policy function cannot handle by the government. So it has created a separate institution by law. That's why you call it entrusted by the government by a different law, and people have given the mandate to the central bank to do their functions. Administering certain monetary functions, mainly their monetary function is affecting countries' money supply and credit, right? So from our definitions in the past, in the previous week, the control of supply and money is related to what? Monetary policy. So traditionally, central banks are defined as institutions who are responsible for conducting monetary policy or monetary function. But we can expand it to some extent by adding the central banks are also handling the financial stability function, supervision function, payment service provider as a payment service provider. Likewise, its role has been expanded, but mainly it's a monetary institution. So what you have spelled out there, what you have given there is correct in terms of the definitions, certain definitions. Okay. So if you look at the history of central banks, evolution is not an old institution. Old institution means we are talking about some institutions which are having more than 1,000, 2,000 years history. Some professions are 2,000, 3,000, 6,000 years old. But central banking is a relatively new concept. Why? It only erupted or only originated in 17th century in Europe. Even before that, there were some discussions for a central bank, but a proper type of central bank was established in 17th century. The first central bank was the Sweden Central Bank. The central bank in Sweden, you call it Sveriges Riksbank. Riksbank. That was the first central bank in the world, established in 1664. 1664. Roughly 400 years ago, central banking was emerged in Europe. And then Bank of England was established, the world's second oldest bank, in 1694. Here we have this picture is basically Bank of England. This picture is basically, there was a bank called Amsterdam Bank before the Sweden Central Bank. This is considered as a kind of a precursor for the modern central bank. Even before the Riksbank, this was established, but it was a private bank. It was not doing central banking, but people or the academics consider this is kind of a root of the modern central banking institutions. So why the Riksbank is important? As I said, that's the first central bank in the world. Why Bank of England is important? That is considered as the father of modern central banking. Father of modern central banking means most of the current central banking practices evolved based on London or the Bank of England. So that's why it's very important. Now, if you look at these banks, central banks originally started as commercial banks. These are actually private banks. Some private owners, private shareholders own these banks, right? So they were doing some functions for the government. For example, they issue banknotes. They acted as the banker to the government. So during this period, 17th century, 18th century means what? A lot of turbulence was around. For example, countries were chasing for colonies. They were following a policy called imperialism, which means to expand their territories and economic boundaries through war, invasion, and colonies, right? For that matter, governments needed a lot of money because war was one of the key tools of colonization. War is one of the key tools of economic power. So as a result, there were a lot of wars going on across countries. For example, the Bank of England was established to finance war against France. Bank of England or the England was fighting with France. So to finance that war, the Bank of England was created. So originally they started as commercial banks to support banknote issuance, means to print money, to print or issue money to support the government activity, and as I say, to act as the bank of the government. So that is the origin. But after that, during last 300-400 years, central banks have acquired a lot of roles. They have acquired a lot of objectives, functions in the evolutionary process, and also central banks have become national institutions. They are the only monetary authority in the country, as some of you have already mentioned. They are the most important monetary authority of the country with a prime responsibility. So as a result, in many countries, today's context, central banks are government institutions. They are national institutions, not owned by private players. I can remember only one bank with having some private ownership, Bank of England. So there you have private shareholders. But other than that, most of the central banks, they are government institutions created by governments by a special law. Right now, we have roughly 180 central banks operating in the world. More than 180 central banks operating in the world. Each and every country or a territory, they are having their own central bank. So if you want to have a large list of central banks and their information, websites and all that, you can find it from the Bank of International Settlements, or you call it BIS website. Bank for International Settlement. There you have a central bank hub. So if you type it on the Google, you get this link for all the central banks in the world. If you have some real interest to look at these central banks. Now, at the beginning, as I said, central banks were doing some few actions. They issue notes. They acted as the banker to the government. But throughout their evolution, as I said, during last 300 to 400 years, they have been providing important services to the state or to the nation. So here we have listed these functions. They are historical function. They acted as monopoly of issuing notes. Monopoly means they are the only players to issue currency. Notes means notes and coins, broadly the currency. So currency issuance was done by the central banks. From the beginning to today, we know central banks are playing an important role in terms of currency issue. They are the monopoly. And they are considered as banker to the government. The government transactions, especially the foreign transactions of the government, loan repayments, loan mobilization, and even in the local transactions, payments done through the central bank accounts. So government is having an account with the central bank for that matter. So in Sri Lanka, we have an account called DST account. DST means Deputy Secretary of the Treasury account. So which means the government account. So the Treasury is doing their transactions through that government. So as the banker to the government, the central bank is basically doing some payments, foreign loan payments, etc., through this function. Banker to the government. Banker to the banks, very important function. As you already know, under banker to the banks function, the central bank is keeping the SRR balance for banks. So banks' liquidity is ensured with this SRR. And as the banker to the bank, central bank is giving financial facilities to them. on a daily basis, as somebody said, through reverse repurchase agreements. The banks are getting funds from the central bank. And the bank's main current account is maintained with the central bank. So every commercial bank is having an account with the central bank. So as a result, the central bank is acting as a banker to the all banks. Lend of last resort means they are giving funds to the financial institution when there is a threat and a panic in the financial system. LOLR, remember we were talking about bank rate. Under that bank rate, the central bank is acting as a lend of last resort, which means giving funds to financial institutions who are in a crisis. So if they don't have any other way to borrow, any other place to borrow for their liquidity, they can come to the central bank as the last resort. That is also one of the important functions. In modern context, central banks are acting as bank supervisors. They are the key supervisors of the financial system. They look at the banks, other type of financial institutions, their books, their transactions, their activities, their role with the public, all are monitored and supervised by the central bank. That is basically for the betterment of the financial system. So this bank supervision function is related to the broader financial system stability. Now, in the past, we did not talk about financial system stability, but especially during 20th century, especially after creating the Central Bank of US, the Federal Reserve, we are much talking about the bank supervision function of the central bank. At present, some of the banks are considering to give it away. For example, in UK, the central bank does not supervise banks. They have a separate institution for that. In Australia, they have a separate institution for that. But in most countries, still the central banks are acting as the bank supervisors. Last but not least, the most important function, monetary policy conductor. As I said, the monetary policy is regulating the cost and the availability of the funds, of the liquidity that is needed for broader macroeconomic stability. As we already know from the previous week, we discussed in detail why a central bank is conducting monetary policy to ensure broader stability in the financial system, in the economy actually, in terms of keeping prices low. For that matter, the central banks are the only institutions in the world that can conduct monetary policy. As I said, the government does not have any role in terms of monetary policy because the government is only conducting fiscal policy. The revenue, expenditure, budget deficit, financing, that part is the government area. Interest rate, money supply, that is not government business. That is given to the central bank as the monetary policy conductor. So modern central banks, I think all 180 plus central banks, they are conducting monetary policy. If a particular central bank is not conducting, it's not a central bank, right? If it has to be named as a central bank, definitely it should be conducting monetary policy. The policy is related to credit and money. It's very important. So what I want to tell you, these functions were acquired by central banks not on overnight basis. This is through an evolution starting from the 1600s or the 17th century up to now. Even now the central banks are acquiring new functions. Now, for example, we have seen during the crisis, during global financial crisis, and also during this coronavirus period, we have seen the central banks are having an additional role to keep the markets calm and confident, right? So they are basically supporting the financial markets and the economy by giving assurance through providing adequate liquidity as well as giving some confidence to the market. So that those are some new roles acquired during the process, but overall these roles have been evolved at certain points in time in order to support the broader stability of the economy in line with government policies. Right? Now, at this point, let's stop the discussion. Next week, I'll be starting with the objectives and functions of the central bank. I need some, additional time to discuss, so we may not have enough time to go through. Let's stop at this point. But I really recommend you look at the central bank, about central banks and their history if you have some time, and how they have evolved. There is a nice booklet published by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, small booklet that is basically functions and organization of the central bank. I think I have put a slide at the end of this discussion here, this book. I really recommend, if you have some time, please go through this small booklet. It's a very reader friendly book. You can simply read it during your leisure time so that you will get some understanding about the Central Bank of Sri Lanka as well as broadly about central banking. So next week, let's try to finish this discussion. And as I said, I really encourage and I really expect you will look at the financial news on a day-to-day basis. If you have some interest in news, next week we can even share and we can discuss if you have any interesting news that we have observed on the website and any other papers. Okay, let's stop at this point, and I wish you a good weekend, and I'll see you next week at the same time.